All right, so I'm going to address this plus another point because people keep saying that the IRS is a private entity and it is unequivocally a government entity. It is part of the executive branch. It is underneath the United States Treasury Department, which is underneath the executive branch of government. It is 100% a government entity. Now, if anybody has any credible evidence that states that it is a private entity, I am totally willing to have that conversation. However, if you have no evidence that will hold up in court, that will protect people from going to jail from listening to you, then it's not credible. So basically, the IRS was originally called the Bureau of Internal Revenue to collect taxes that were needed to fund the war. And in 1913, the U.S. Constitution was ratified under the 16th Amendment to give Congress the authority to levy taxes against the American people. Then in 1953, the name was changed to what we know now as the Internal Revenue Service, but it was always the same organization. So how it works is, let me see, the U.S. Department of Treasury oversees the IRS, and then the commissioner of the IRS is appointed by the President of the United States and then confirmed by the Senate, and that just cements its status as a government body. There you go. Now, as far as taxes being voluntary, now the IRS website does say voluntary compliance, but they don't mean like you can do it if you want to and you don't have to pay if you don't want to. That's not what voluntary compliance means. Voluntary compliance merely means that you can self-assess your taxes. It means that you can voluntarily look at your own income and fill out your own tax forms or use, H&R Block or TurboTax or whatever to file your own taxes versus the government stepping in and doing it for you involuntarily. That is literally all that means. We have layman's terms and then we have legal definitions, and sometimes that be kicking people's ass. If you want to look it up, it is mandatory under federal law 26 U.S. Code 6011 and 6151. So the U.S. tax code, it explicitly requires citizens, residents, and entities that meet a certain income threshold to pay taxes. And the courts have consistently ruled against individuals who claim that they don't have to, that they're voluntary, always saying that these claims are frivolous. And let me tell you, baby, they don't care if you are a pimp, if you are a prostitute, if you are a drug dealer. They do not care. They want you to pay taxes on that income. Now, as far as tax obligation, that might change depending on how you have your finances set up. Now, if you have a trust, like a grantor trust or something like that, and where you put all of your assets into a trust, that might change your tax obligation. However, you still have filing requirements. And even if, because of all your your assets, your taxable assets might be in this trust, you might not owe any taxes to the government, but best believe that trust will. And you talk to an attorney, because depending on your setup, it depends on how much you owe. Sometimes trusts pay a higher tax rate than an individual would. So putting it all in a trust doesn't always guarantee that you're going to end up ahead. Now, I'm not a tax attorney, but I did look some stuff up. Under a grantor trust, the income generated by the trust is reported on the grantor's personal tax return, and the grantor pays the taxes. Under a non-grantor trust, the trust may owe taxes on its income, or if the income is distributed to the beneficiaries, they may pay taxes on their share. On an irrevocable trust, the trust itself may owe taxes on the income it retains, and the distributions to the beneficiaries are taxable to them. On a revocable trust, the grantor remains responsible for all taxes on income and assets in the trust. Either way, somebody paying taxes on those assets. Nobody's getting away scot-free without paying them. Now, we can go back and forth all day, but listen, people who say you don't have to pay taxes, at the end of the day, y'all can get taken to court, y'all can get charged excessive fees, and y'all can go to jail. And then when you tell other people to do this, you can even get fined and charged for telling other people to commit crimes. And the government calls you paper terrorists. Now, misinterpretation of the law is one thing. I understand some people be like, I'm standing on business with this, and, my hat's off to you. Congratulations, do your thing. But at the end of the day, People are going to jail. They're owing millions of dollars for trying to defraud the government. And at the end of the day, you live in this country and this government runs things. So, like, if it doesn't hold up in court, if you can't make the argument successfully, then your information is not credible and it won't hold up, then your argument holds no weight. Sorry.